The great assembly hall on the neutral space station Haven had been built specifically for this historic meeting. Representatives from dozens of species filled the enormous chamber. For the first time in galactic history, former Dominion worlds, independent species and human colonies would meet as equals. Xiongmin stood at the podium looking out at the diverse crowd. At 28 years old, he was young to represent humanity at such an important gathering, but his generation had grown up knowing that this day would eventually come. Friends and fellow beings of the galaxy, he began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. We gather today not to mourn the end of old empires, but to celebrate the beginning of something new. In the front section, High Counselor Narvek sat with the remaining Dominion leadership. Half of their former territory had declared independence over the past year. The rest demanded major reforms. The empire that had ruled for 3 millennia was transforming whether its leaders wanted it or not. The question before us, Xiongmin continued, is simple but profound. How should free peoples relate to each other among the stars? Behind him, a large display showed a map of the galaxy. Green areas marked human colonies, blue showed independent worlds, and red indicated remaining Dominion territory. For too long, our galaxy has been organized around the principle of dominance, Xiongmin said. Strong species conquered weak ones. Central governments controlled distant worlds. Military might determine political power. General Tulvek shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The Dominion military had suffered several more defeats as additional worlds acquired human defensive technology. But dominance creates neither prosperity nor happiness, Xiongmin explained. It creates only resentment, rebellion, and endless conflict. Boram, now serving as humanity's chief negotiator, activated another display. This one showed comparative statistics between Dominion worlds and human colonies. In human space, the average citizen lives 4 times longer than in Dominion space, she explained. They receive better education, have access to superior health care, and enjoy greater personal freedom. These achievements did not come from conquest or control, Xiongmin added. They came from cooperation, innovation, and respect for individual dignity. Lady Mortheka of Velkash stood to speak. Her world had been one of the first to achieve independence with human assistance. Before our liberation, my people lived in poverty while our resources enriched distant Dominion worlds, she said. We were told this was necessary for galactic stability. Now we see it was necessary only for Dominion power. Similar testimonies came from representatives of other newly independent worlds. Species after species described how Dominion rule had held back their development and suppressed their potential. Counselor Yilvin, one of the more progressive Dominion leaders, rose to respond. The Dominion government acknowledges that mistakes were made, she said carefully. We are committed to reform and to building better relationships with all galactic peoples. Reform is good, Xiongmin replied diplomatically. But we propose something more fundamental than reform. We propose a new structure for galactic civilization. The display behind him changed again, showing a proposed map of the galaxy organized into regional federations instead of a single empire. Instead of one dominant power controlling everything, we envision multiple federations of free worlds, Boram explained. Each federation would govern itself according to its own values and traditions. But how would disputes between federations be resolved? Asked Admiral Kexthor. Without central authority, wouldn't this lead to constant warfare? The same way we resolve disputes within our federations, Haiwan answered. She had emerged as humanity's leading philosopher on interspecies relations. Through discussion, negotiation, and mutual respect. That sounds impossibly idealistic, General Tulvex objected. Does it? Xiongmin asked. In the past year, how many wars have broken out between the newly independent worlds? The question hung in the air. Despite the Dominion's predictions of chaos, the independent worlds had actually been more peaceful than when they were under central control. 0 wars, Xiongmin answered his own question. 0 major conflicts. The independent worlds have been too busy improving their own societies to waste time fighting each other. The debate continued for days. Representatives from dozens of species presented their ideas about how galactic civilization should be organized. Some, like the Kethvar people, wanted complete independence for every world. Others preferred smaller regional groups based on shared values rather than geographic proximity. The humans listened carefully to every proposal, but consistently advocated for voluntary cooperation rather than imposed authority. Every species, every world should have the right to choose its own path, Hayawan argued. But they should also have the opportunity to cooperate with others when it benefits everyone involved. Gradually, a consensus began to emerge. The old system of galactic empire was clearly broken, but the new system would need to balance independence with cooperation. The final proposal came from an unexpected source. High Counselor Narvex himself stood to address the assembly. For over 200 years, I have led the Dominion government, he said slowly. I believed our system was the best way to maintain order and prosperity in the galaxy. The chamber fell silent as the former emperor continued. I was wrong, he admitted. The Dominion achieved order through force and prosperity for a few at the expense of many. The humans have shown us a better way. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the audience. No one had expected this admission from the Dominion's supreme leader. Therefore, Narvex continued, I propose that the Dominion formally dissolve itself. The worlds that wish to remain together may form a new federation based on voluntary membership. Those that prefer independence or other associations should be free to choose their own paths. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Some Dominion officials applauded while others looked shocked or angry. Representatives from the independent worlds cheered openly. Furthermore, Narvex added, I request that the human federations accept former Dominion worlds as potential members, so that all species may benefit from humanity's advanced methods of governance. Seongmin exchanged glances with his colleagues before responding. Humanity welcomes all species that share our commitment to freedom, cooperation, and mutual respect, he said formally. But we must be clear. Membership in any federation must be completely voluntary. No one will be pressured or coerced to join. The final negotiations took another week, but the outcome was historic. The Galactic Dominion officially dissolved itself, replaced by 5 regional federations and dozens of independent worlds. The human federations accepted many former Dominion species as new members. Other species formed their own federations based on shared interests or cultures. Some worlds chose to remain completely independent. Most importantly, all groups committed to a set of principles that humanity had helped develop: respect for individual rights, voluntary cooperation, peaceful dispute resolution, and the sharing of knowledge and technology. 1 year later, Seongmin stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Cooperation Center, watching ships from dozens of different worlds dock at the massive space station. Boram joined him at the viewing window. Do you think it will work? She asked. Can so many different species really cooperate without some form of central authority? Seongmin smiled as he watched a human transport ship dock next to a Velkush merchant vessel, while a reformed Dominion science ship worked alongside researchers from 3 different independent worlds. Look around you, he said. It's already working. The discovery of humanity's hidden civilization had done more than reveal advanced technology or new worlds. It had revealed new possibilities for how intelligent beings could relate to each other. The galaxy would never be the same. Instead of one empire ruling through force, dozens of free civilizations now work together through choice. Instead of conflict and competition, there was cooperation and mutual aid. And at the center of it all, humanity had found its true role in the galaxy, not as conquerors or rulers, but as teachers and partners in building a better future for all sapient life. The age of empire was over. The age of cooperation had begun. News of humanity's existence spread through the Dominion like wildfire. On the industrial world of Kexthor, worker Zolvan put down his tools and stared at the news broadcast in disbelief. They say these humans have cities where everyone has enough food and no one lives in poverty, he told his co-worker Bilnex. They say crime barely exists and everyone gets the best education possible. Bilnex snorted. Propaganda. No civilization can achieve such things. There must be some kind of control system we don't understand. But deep in his heart, Bill next wondered if it might be true. He had worked in the factories for 60 years, barely earning enough to feed his family. The idea of a better life seemed impossible, but the news reports kept coming. On the agricultural world of Fendar, Farmer Yilvin listened to similar broadcasts. Her people had been providing food for the Dominion for 800 years. Their quota demands grew larger every year while their living conditions remained the same. The humans claim that their farmers own their own land, she told her neighbor. They say farming families live as well as anyone else in their society. That cannot be right, her neighbor replied. Food producers are always the lowest class. That is the natural order. But Yilvin began to wonder why it had to be natural. Order. Why couldn't farmers live just as well as administrators or soldiers? Similar conversations were happening throughout the Dominion. On military bases, soldiers questioned why they served an empire that could not provide for its people, as well as these mysterious humans seemed to provide for theirs. In government offices, administrators wondered how the humans could coordinate dozens of worlds without the massive bureaucracy that the Dominion required. On research stations, scientists marveled at the technological advances that humanity had achieved. Some began to question whether the Dominion's methods were really the best ways to pursue knowledge. The effects were most dramatic on the Dominion's outer rim worlds. These planets had been conquered more recently and still remembered their independence. The news about humanity rekindled old dreams of freedom. On Velkash, a former kingdom that had been absorbed into the Dominion just 200 years ago, the old noble families began meeting in secret. Perhaps the time has come to reconsider our relationship with the central government, suggested Lady Morthika. If the humans can maintain their independence, perhaps we can reclaim ours. The Dominion military would never allow it, argued Lord Kesvol. They would crush any rebellion quickly. But would they? Lady Mortheka countered. The humans have remained hidden from Dominion forces for centuries. Perhaps their defensive technologies could protect us as well. Similar discussions were taking place on dozens of other worlds. The mere existence of humanity had shown that alternatives to Dominion rule were possible. At Dominion headquarters on the capital world of Nexus Prime, High Counselor Narvex met with his top advisors to discuss the growing crisis. The situation is becoming serious, reported Intelligence Chief Korthek. We are detecting increased communication between outer rim worlds. Some are openly discussing independence movements. How many worlds are affected? Narvex asked. At least 40 systems show signs of organized dissent, Korthek replied. The number grows daily. General Tulvex, the Dominion's supreme military commander, slammed his fist on the table. This is what happens when we show weakness. We should have conquered the human worlds immediately instead of negotiating with them. And how exactly would we conquer them? Asked Science Advisor Wellan. Their cloaking technology makes their worlds nearly impossible to find. Their defensive capabilities are unknown but likely formidable, and we still don't understand how their technology works. We have the largest military in the galaxy, General Tulvex insisted. Size means nothing if we cannot locate our targets, Wellan replied. The humans have proven they can hide entire civilizations from our best sensors. Meanwhile, on the human world of New Kyoto, Taihun was coordinating humanity's response to the crisis. As their master strategist, he had spent decades preparing for this moment. Reports are coming in from all over Dominion space, he told the Emergency Council. Our agents confirm that knowledge of our existence is causing widespread unrest. This part of your plan? Asked Hewan, one of humanity's philosophical leaders. Not exactly, Taihun admitted. I expected some reaction, but not this quickly or this broadly. The Dominion's control over its member species was apparently more fragile than we realized. What should we do? Asked another council member. We wait and watch, Taihun replied. If Dominion worlds want to declare independence, that is their choice. But we must be careful not to appear as if we are encouraging rebellion. That would give the Dominion military justification to attack us. Back on Nexus Prime, the situation continued to deteriorate. 3 outer rim systems had formally declared independence from the Dominion. 2 more were on the verge of following suit. "We must act decisively," General Tolvex declared. "Send the battle fleets to crush these rebellions before they spread further." "And then what?" Narvex asked. "Even if we defeat these rebels, the underlying problem remains. Our people have seen that better forms of government are possible. Force alone cannot make them forget that knowledge." Councillor Yilven, one of the more progressive members of the government, spoke up. "Perhaps we should consider learning from the humans instead of fighting them. If their methods produce better results, shouldn't we adopt them?" "Adopt their methods?" General Tolvex sputtered. "You would destroy 3,000 years of Dominion tradition?" "I would improve 3,000 years of Dominion mistakes," Yilven replied firmly. The debate continued for hours without resolution. The Dominion leadership was divided between those who wanted to maintain the old ways through force and those who believed change was necessary. As the arguments raged in the capital, events in outer space were moving beyond anyone's control. The independent worlds were already reaching out to humanity, seeking advice and possibly assistance. On Velkash, Lady Mortheka received a carefully encrypted message from human representatives. "We understand your desire for independence," the message read. "While we cannot directly intervene in Dominion internal affairs, we are willing to share knowledge about self-governance and defensive technologies with any world that chooses freedom." Similar messages were being received on many other worlds. Humanity was not actively encouraging rebellion, but they were offering alternatives to those who sought them. The final crisis came when the Dominion military moved to suppress the rebellious worlds. Admiral Kexthor led a massive fleet toward the Velkash system, intending to make an example that would discourage other independence movements. But when the Dominion ships arrived, they found the rebel worlds protected by technology they had never seen before. Energy shields absorbed their weapons fire harmlessly. Cloaking devices made the defending ships nearly impossible to target. "Sir, our weapons are completely ineffective," reported Admiral Kexthor's tactical officer. "How is this possible?" the Admiral demanded. "It appears the rebels have acquired human defensive technology," came the reluctant reply. The battle was over before it really began. The Dominion fleet was forced to withdraw, their reputation for invincible military might shattered. News of the military defeat spread even faster than the original reports about humanity. If the Great Dominion military could be stopped by a few rebel worlds using human technology, what did that say about Dominion power? More worlds declared independence. Some Dominion species began to question whether they wanted to remain part of the Empire at all. On Nexus Prime, High Counselor Narvex realized that his 1,000-year-old empire was falling apart. The discovery of humanity had not just revealed the existence of an advanced alien species. It had revealed that the Dominion's entire way of governing was flawed and outdated. "Sir," his aide informed him quietly, "the humans have sent a message. They are requesting a formal meeting to discuss the future of galactic civilization." Narvex sighed deeply. The time for half measures and negotiations was over. Humanity had forced the Dominion to face fundamental questions about how civilizations should relate to each other. The galaxy would never be the same again. High Counselor Narvex had ruled the Dominion Empire for over 200 years. In all that time, nothing had surprised him more than the reports about humanity. Now he stood on the bridge of the massive battleship Eternal Glory, traveling to see these mysterious humans for himself. "Sir, we are approaching the designated meeting coordinates," reported Captain Yultar. The captain was nervous about bringing the Empire's supreme leader into potentially dangerous territory. "Good," Narvex replied. "Signal the human vessels that we are ready for their guided tour." The response came immediately. "Welcome, High Counselor. This is Chan Wu, your guide for today. Please follow our lead ship to the first location." Narvex watched as a sleek human vessel appeared beside his battleship. It was much smaller than the Eternal Glory, but it moved with impressive grace and speed. "Sir," called out Scanner Officer Kexnal, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures ahead, much larger than anything shown on our star charts." "Show me," Narvex ordered. The main display screen activated, showing what appeared to be empty space, but the energy readings told a different story. Something huge was hidden out there. Chanwu, what are we approaching? Narvex asked over the communication system. The first wonder of human civilization, Chanwu replied. Our capital world of New Terra. Please activate your deep scan sensors. When the Dominion ship's powerful sensors engaged, the truth became visible. A massive planet hung in space ahead of them, surrounded by dozens of space stations and thousands of ships. Cities covered the planet's surface, their lights twinkling like stars. How is this possible? Captain Yultar whispered. Our navigation charts show this system as completely empty. We have been perfecting our cloaking technology for centuries, Chanwu explained as his ship led them closer. Every human world is hidden this way. Your people have flown through this system many times and never detected us. As they approached New Terra, more incredible sights became visible. Massive orbital elevators connected the planet's surface to space stations. Ships larger than Dominion dreadnoughts carried cargo between different parts of the system. Manufacturing facilities in space produced goods on a scale the Dominion had never achieved. How many people live here? Narvex asked. About 12 billion, Chanwu replied casually. New Terra is one of our larger colonies. Narvex felt a chill run through his body. 12 billion people on a single world was more than most Dominion systems contained in total. Their tour continued to the surface of New Terra. The human cities were unlike anything in Dominion space. Instead of the gray metal and concrete that dominated Dominion architecture, human cities were filled with green spaces and flowing water. Buildings seemed to grow from the landscape like living things. Your cities are very beautiful, Narvex commented, as their shuttle flew over the capital. Thank you, replied Yejin, who had joined them as a cultural guide. We believe that people need beauty in their lives to be truly happy. Our architects work to create spaces that inspire and comfort. They landed in a plaza where thousands of humans were going about their daily lives. Children played in fountains while adults relaxed on benches or walked through gardens. Everyone looked healthy, well-dressed, and content. I notice your people seem very peaceful, Narvex observed. Why would they not be? Yejin asked. Everyone has enough food, comfortable housing, meaningful work, and access to education and healthcare. When people's basic needs are met, they naturally become more cooperative and less violent. This concept was difficult for Narvex to understand. In the Dominion, maintaining order required strong police forces and strict laws. Yet these humans seemed to govern themselves with minimal outside control. What about crime? He asked. What about people who refuse to work or contribute to society? Those problems are very rare, Yejin explained. When people feel valued and have opportunities to pursue their interests, they naturally want to contribute. Crime usually comes from desperation, inequality, or lack of purpose. We have eliminated those conditions. Their next stop was even more impressive, a massive space-based manufacturing facility called the Workshop. Chanwu led them through corridors filled with advanced machinery and busy workers. This facility produces everything our colony worlds need, he explained. Tools, electronics, vehicles, even food and clothing. We can manufacture almost anything from basic raw materials. How do you organize the work? Narvex asked. Who decides what to produce and how much? The workers themselves make most of those decisions, Chanwu replied. They know what their communities need better than any distant administrator. Our computer systems help coordinate between different facilities, but the people do the actual planning. This was another concept that amazed Narvex. In the Dominion, all economic decisions were made by the central government. The idea of letting workers make their own choices seemed impossibly chaotic, but clearly, it worked. The workshop produced goods at incredible speed and quality. The workers seemed motivated and proud of their accomplishments. Everything ran smoothly without any apparent central control. We would like to show you our educational system, Yejin suggested as they continued the tour. The human schools were as surprising as everything else. Instead of sitting in rows listening to lectures, students worked on projects that interested them. Children learned by doing, experimenting, and creating. How do you ensure they learn what they need to know? Narvex asked. We have found that people learn best when they are curious and engaged, Yejin explained. Our teachers guide students toward important knowledge, but they let curiosity drive the process. The results spoke for themselves. Human children seemed incredibly bright and creative. They asked thoughtful questions and showed deep understanding of complex topics. Your education system produces remarkable results, Narvex admitted. Every human child receives the best education we can provide, Yejin said proudly. We believe that developing every person's potential benefits all of society. The tour continued for several days, visiting multiple human worlds and facilities. Each location showed the same pattern: advanced technology, prosperous communities, and happy people living in harmony with their environment. On their final day, Chanwu brought the Dominion delegation to the Human Government Center. It was not a palace or fortress, but a simple building where representatives from all human worlds met to discuss common concerns. This is where we make decisions that affect all of humanity, Chanwu explained. How do you maintain unity across so many worlds? Narvex asked. The Dominion requires strong central authority to keep our member species in line. We stay united because we choose to, replied Boram, a senior representative. Each world governs itself, but we cooperate on issues that affect everyone: space exploration, scientific research, defense. These things work better when we work together. But what if worlds disagree? Narvex pressed. What if some worlds want to do things that harm others? Then we talk until we find a solution, Boram said simply. It takes time, but we eventually reach agreements that everyone can accept. As the tour ended, Narvex realized that humanity had achieved something the Dominion had never managed. They had created a civilization that was both advanced and stable, prosperous and peaceful, unified and free. High Counselor, Chanwu said as they prepared to depart. We hope this tour has shown you that humans and the Dominion can coexist peacefully. We have much to offer each other. Indeed, Narvex replied thoughtfully. But I wonder, what do you actually want from the Dominion? You clearly don't need our protection or our technology. We want recognition, Boram answered. We want the right to exist openly in this galaxy. We want to trade with your people, share knowledge, and work together on projects that benefit everyone. And if the Dominion refuses? Boram's expression became serious. Then we will continue to exist as we have before, hidden, independent, and free. The choice is yours, High Counselor. As Narvex's ship departed human space, he faced the biggest decision of his long career. Humanity represented both an incredible opportunity and a fundamental challenge to everything the Dominion stood for. The question was whether the Empire would embrace this new relationship or see it as a threat to be eliminated. 3 days later, a much larger Dominion ship arrived in the human system. Ambassador Krixtal, the Empire's best diplomat, had come with a team of scientists and military advisors. They wanted to see these amazing humans for themselves. Hyunwoo stood in the main laboratory of New Seoul Station, preparing for the most important presentation of his life. As humanity's chief engineer, he would be showing the Dominion visitors how human technology actually worked. Are you nervous? Asked Yunji, who had designed many of the station's systems. She was checking the demonstration equipment one final time. A little, Hyunwoo admitted. These people control most of the galaxy. If they decide we are a threat, life could become very difficult for us. Donghyun looked up from his calculations. He was the physicist who had created their cloaking systems. Remember, we are not trying to impress them with weapons or military power. We want to show them that our way of building civilization is better. The laboratory doors opened, and Mi Young entered with the Dominion delegation. Ambassador Krixtal was a tall, thin alien with purple skin and large eyes. Behind him walked Science Coordinator Tethran, whose blue scales glittered under the lights. Welcome to our research facility, Hyunwoo said politely. We are honored to share our discoveries with representatives of the Dominion. We are very curious about your technology, Tethran replied. His voice had a musical quality. Our preliminary scans suggest you have achieved things we thought impossible. Hyunwoo activated the first demonstration. A small device appeared in the center of the room, floating in mid-air. It looked simple, just a metal cube about the size of his fist. "This is a basic construction unit," he explained. "Watch carefully." The cube began to change shape. It stretched and folded, creating new forms from its own material. Within minutes, it had become a complex tool with moving parts. "Interesting," Tethran said. "Programmable matter. We have similar technology." "Now, watch this," Yoonji said with a smile. The tool flew to the wall and began working on the metal surface. As it worked, the wall material seemed to flow like water. The tool was reshaping the wall itself, creating new patterns and structures. "How is this possible?" Tethran demanded. His scientific calm was beginning to break down. "Matter cannot simply change its properties like that." Dong-hyun stepped forward. "We discovered that all matter behaves like programmable matter if you understand it correctly. We can convince atoms to rearrange themselves into any pattern we need." "That violates several basic laws of physics," Tethran protested. "No, it follows laws that your science has not discovered yet," Hyunwoo replied gently. "Would you like to see how we build our cities?" Another demonstration began. This time the display showed a barren asteroid floating in space. Hyunwoo released a single construction cube near the asteroid. The cube landed on the rocky surface and began to work. It broke down rock and converted it into new materials. Then it split itself into 2 cubes. The 2 cubes continued working and splitting. Soon there were thousands of cubes working all across the asteroid. "Each cube is intelligent," Yoonji explained. "They work together like a team. They share information and coordinate their actions." Within an hour of the simulation, the asteroid had become a beautiful city. Towers spiraled up from the surface. Gardens and parks filled open spaces. Transportation tubes connected different sections. "This is how we built all our settlements," Hyunwoo said. "We don't need massive construction fleets or millions of workers. A few cubes can build an entire world." Ambassador Crystal had been quiet during the demonstration, but now he spoke. "How long does this process take in reality?" "About 6 months to build a city for 1 million people," Dong-hyun answered. 1 year to create a complete world ecosystem." "Impossible," Tethran whispered. "It takes us decades to establish even basic colonies." The next demonstration was even more impressive. Hyunwoo showed them humanity's medical technology. A volunteer human entered a medical scanner that looked like a simple arch. "Jinwoo here volunteered to show you our healing systems," Hyunwoo explained. "Jinwoo, please tell our guests about your recent injury." Jinwoo smiled at the visitors. 2 days ago, I broke my arm in an accident. The bone was completely shattered. Our medical system repaired it completely. The scanner activated and detailed images of Jinwoo's arm appeared on the displays. The Dominion scientists could see every bone, muscle, and nerve fiber in perfect detail. "The bone structure is flawless," Tethran said in amazement. "There is no sign that any damage ever occurred." "Our medical technology works with the body's natural healing processes," Yoonji explained. "We don't just fix problems. We improve the body's ability to fix itself." "What is your average lifespan?" Ambassador Crystal asked quietly. "About 400 years," Hyunwoo replied, "though some of our oldest citizens are approaching 500. The Dominion visitors fell silent. In their empire, most species lived for 100 to 150 years. The idea of humans living 3 times as long was difficult to accept. "How do you prevent your population from becoming too large?" Tethran asked. "We don't need to," Dong-hyun answered. "When people live longer and healthier lives, they choose to have fewer children. Our population grows very slowly and naturally." The final demonstration was the most shocking of all. Hyunwoo led them to a window overlooking space. Outside, they could see several human ships moving between the stations. "Watch the ship with the red markings," he said. The red ship seemed to flicker like a candle flame. Then it vanished completely. "Where did it go?" Ambassador Crystal demanded. "Nowhere," Hyunwoo replied. "It is still there. You just cannot see it." He activated a special scanner, and the ship reappeared on the display screen. It was exactly where it had been before. "This is how we remained hidden from your empire for so long," Yunji explained. "Our cloaking technology does not just hide us from your sensors, it makes us completely undetectable." "How does it work?" Tethran asked desperately. As a scientist, he needed to understand. Donghyun smiled. "We learned to bend space itself around our ships and stations. Light, sound, gravity waves. Everything passes around us as if we were not there." "Can you teach us this technology?" Ambassador Krixtal asked. "We can teach you many things," Mi-young said, entering the conversation. "But first, your leaders must decide how they want to interact with humanity. Do you want to be our partners, or do you want to be our enemies?" The Dominion delegation spent the rest of the day asking questions and taking measurements. Everything they learned confirmed what they had already seen. Human technology was not just advanced, it was revolutionary. That evening, Ambassador Krixtal sent his report to the Dominion High Council. His message was simple but shocking. "We have discovered a species that has surpassed us in almost every area of science and technology. We are no longer the most advanced civilization in the galaxy." The response came back within hours. The High Council ordered Ambassador Krixtal to learn everything he could about human capabilities. They also ordered him to find out if humans could be convinced to share their technology with the Dominion. But they also sent a secret message to their military commanders. If humans could not be convinced to cooperate, the Dominion needed to be ready for war. The age of human secrecy was ending. The question now was whether it would be replaced by an age of cooperation or an age of conflict. The shuttle bay on the human space station was unlike anything Veltar had ever seen. Clean, white walls curved in smooth patterns. Soft blue lights provided gentle illumination. Everything looked efficient, but also somehow peaceful. Veltar, Zixtal, and Navran stepped out of their small transport ship. They had been traveling for 6 hours to reach this meeting place. During the journey, they had seen dozens of human ships. Each one looked different from Dominion designs, but clearly advanced. "Welcome to Harmony Station," said a human woman walking toward them. She was tall and slim, with black hair and dark eyes. Her skin had a warm brown color that none of them had seen before. "I am Mi-young, the person who spoke with you earlier." Behind Mi-young walked 2 other humans. One was a man with short black hair and a serious expression. The other was a woman with longer hair who smiled warmly at the visitors. "This is Jae-min, our military advisor," Mi-young said, pointing to the serious man. "And this is So-jin, our science specialist." Veltar tried to hide his surprise. These humans looked so different from any species in the Dominion. Their faces were more expressive. Their movements seemed more relaxed. Even their clothing was simpler and more practical than what Dominion officials usually wore. "Thank you for accepting our invitation," Mi-young continued. "We know this must be very strange for you." "Strange is not a strong enough word," Veltar replied. "My people have been exploring this galaxy for thousands of years. How did we never find you?" So-jin stepped forward with an eager expression. "That is a wonderful question. We would love to explain our technology to you. But first, would you like to see more of our station? It might help you understand who we are." The humans led their guests through wide corridors filled with artwork and plants. Veltar noticed that many different types of humans walked through the halls. Some had pale skin, others had dark skin. Some were tall, others were short. Their clothing and hairstyles varied greatly. "Your species shows remarkable diversity," Navran observed. "Humanity developed on one world, but in many different regions," Mi-young explained. "Over thousands of years, we adapted to different environments. When we began traveling to space, we made sure to preserve all our different cultures and traditions." They entered a large room with windows looking out into space. Veltar could see several human worlds in the distance, their surfaces covered with lights from cities and towns. "How many worlds do you control?" Zixtal asked. "Control is not the right word," Jae-min replied. "We don't control our worlds. Each world governs itself. We work together because we choose to, not because we are forced to." This concept confused the Dominion visitors. In their empire, the central government controlled everything. Local worlds had to follow orders from the capital. The idea of voluntary cooperation seemed impossible to maintain across multiple star systems. But how do you make decisions? Veltar asked. How do you settle disagreements between worlds? We talk, Mi-young said simply. We discuss problems until we find solutions that work for everyone. It takes longer than giving orders, but the results last longer too. So-jin activated a large display screen on the wall. It showed a three-dimensional map of their region of space. Veltar counted at least 50 different star systems marked in green. These are our current settlements, So-jin explained. We have been expanding slowly and carefully for over 300 years. We choose systems that are far from major space lanes. We use cloaking technology to hide our presence, and we are very careful not to interfere with other species' territories. But why hide? Navran asked. With your technology, you could have joined the Dominion as an equal partner. The three humans exchanged meaningful looks. Jaemin's expression became more serious. We studied your empire very carefully, he said. We learned your history. We watched how you treat species that join your domain. The Dominion treats all member species fairly, Veltar protested. Do you? Mi-young asked, gently. What happened to the Kethvar people when they refused to give up their traditional government? Veltar fell silent. The Kethvar had been a proud species with their own system of rule. When they joined the Dominion, they wanted to keep their old ways. The Dominion military had forced them to change. Many Kethvar had died in the conflicts. That followed. How do you know about that? Zixtal whispered. That information is classified. We have been watching and listening for a very long time, So-jin replied. We needed to understand what kind of civilization the Dominion really was before we made contact. Mi-young touched a control panel and the display changed. Now it showed detailed information about Dominion military forces, trade routes, and political structures. We know about your 12 member species, she said. We know how many ships you have, where your major bases are located, and who your current leaders are. We even know about the rebellions on the Outer Rim worlds that your government keeps secret. The Dominion visitors stared in shock. This information should have been impossible for outsiders to obtain. Are you spies? Navran demanded. Not exactly, Jaemin replied. We are observers. For 2 centuries, humans have been working quietly throughout Dominion space. Some as traders, some as workers, some as researchers. Always careful, always hidden, always learning. But why? Veltar asked. What did you hope to gain? Understanding, Mi-young said. We needed to know if the Dominion would be a friend or an enemy when we finally revealed ourselves. We needed to know if your empire would try to conquer us, or if you would be willing to coexist peacefully. So Jin brought up another display, this one showing human technology, ships that could become invisible, cities built inside asteroids, factories that could create anything from basic elements. Our technology developed differently from yours, she explained. The Dominion focused on military power and control. Humanity focused on sustainability and cooperation. We learned to do more with less. We learned to hide instead of fight. We learned to build societies that could last forever, without destroying their environments. Your technology is impressive, Veltar admitted. But surely you realize that the Dominion will not simply ignore your existence now that we have found you. We are counting on that, Jaemin said with a slight smile. We have been preparing for this day for decades. We are ready to defend ourselves if necessary. But we hope it will not come to that. Mi-young walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Commander Veltar, your empire has grown powerful by conquering and controlling others. But power built on fear and force cannot last forever. We represent a different path. A path of cooperation, equality, and mutual respect. We would like to propose a meeting between human leadership and the Dominion High Council, So-jin added. We have much to offer your people. New technologies, new ideas, new ways of solving old problems. And what do you want in return? Veltar asked suspiciously. Nothing except the right to exist freely, Mi-young replied. We want to trade with your people, to to share knowledge, to work together on projects that benefit everyone. We want to show the galaxy that there is another way to live among the stars. As the meeting continued, Veltar began to realize that his discovery would change everything. Humanity was not just another species to be conquered or controlled. They were equals with their own ideas about how civilization should work. The question now was whether the Dominion would accept this challenge to their way of thinking, or whether it would lead to the greatest conflict the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Veltar stared at the strange readings on his ship's scanner. For 300 years he had been exploring the galaxy for the Dominion Empire. He had found many new worlds and many new species to add to their great empire. But today was different. Today something did not make sense. "Run the scan again," he told his crew member Zixtal. The blue-skinned alien worked quickly at the control panel. Numbers and symbols flashed across multiple screens. "Sir, the readings are..." "The same," Zixtal said. His voice showed confusion. "There are massive energy signatures in this system, but our long-range sensors show nothing there." Veltar walked to the main viewing window. Outside, space looked empty and dark. Just a few distant stars twinkled in the blackness. This system was supposed to be dead space. Their star maps showed nothing here except a small yellow star with a few dead planets. "Maybe our equipment is broken," suggested Narration, the ship's pilot. She was from the same species as Veltar, with gray skin and 4 arms. "We have been traveling for 6 months without maintenance." "No," Veltar said firmly. "Our equipment works fine. Something is hiding out there." The Dominion had ruled the galaxy for over 3,000 years. 12 different alien species worked together under their control. They had the best technology. They had the strongest military. They knew everything that happened in their galaxy, or so they thought. Veltar ordered his ship to move closer to the strange readings. As they got nearer to the small yellow star, the energy signatures became stronger. Much stronger. "Sir," Zixtal called out with excitement, "I'm picking up radio transmissions." "From where?" "The third planet from the star." "But sir, that's impossible. Our maps show that planet as dead rock with no atmosphere." Veltar felt his heart rate increase. In all his years of exploration, he had never found anything like this. "Put the transmissions on the main speaker." Strange sounds filled the ship's bridge. It was clearly a language, but not like any language the crew had heard before. The words sounded smooth and musical, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. The speakers seemed to be having normal conversations. "Are you recording this?" Veltar asked. "Yes, sir. But our translation computers cannot understand any of it. This language is completely unknown." Narration looked worried. "Sir, should we report this to Dominion Command?" "Not yet," Veltar decided. "First, we need to know what we are dealing with." As their ship moved closer to the third planet, more impossible things appeared on their scanners. The planet had a thick atmosphere full of oxygen and nitrogen. Oceans covered most of the surface. Green and brown land masses showed signs of life. Cities appeared on their screens. Massive cities with millions of inhabitants. "How is this possible?" Zixtal whispered. "Our sensors should have detected all of this from 100 light-years away." Veltar had no answer. The Dominion's technology was the best in the galaxy. Their sensors could find a small ship hiding behind an asteroid, but somehow, an entire civilization had remained hidden from them. "Sir, there's more," Narration reported. "I'm detecting at least 12 other planets in nearby systems. All of them show signs of advanced civilization. All of them were supposedly empty on our maps." The bridge fell silent. Veltar and his crew tried to understand what they were seeing. An entire network of civilized worlds had existed right under their noses. These worlds had been hiding in plain sight for who knows how long. "Run a deep scan on the inhabited worlds," Veltar ordered. "I want to know everything about these people." The EU scan results made the situation even more mysterious. The cities were incredibly advanced. The energy readings showed technology that was at least equal to Dominion standards, maybe even better in some ways. Transportation systems moved people between cities at amazing speeds. Manufacturing facilities produced goods using methods the Dominion had never seen. But the biggest shock came when they scanned the space around the planets. Huge space stations orbited many of the worlds. Ships moved between the planets carrying cargo and passengers. Some of these ships were larger than Dominion military cruisers. "Sir," Zixtal said quietly, "these people have been watching us." "What do you mean?" "I'm picking up scanner traces aimed at our ship. Very sophisticated scanners. They know we're here and they're studying us just like we're studying them." Before Veltar could respond, their communication system activated. A clear voice spoke in perfect Dominion standard, the official language of their empire. "Greetings, Commander Veltar of the Dominion scout ship Morning Star. We welcome you to our part of the galaxy. Please do not be alarmed by our presence here." The entire bridge crew froze in shock. Not only did these unknown people know their language, but they knew Veltar's name and his ship's identification. "My name is Mi Young," the voice continued. "I represent the hidden colonies of humanity. We have been expecting your arrival for some time. We would very much like to meet with you and your crew to discuss our future relationship with the Dominion Empire." Veltar found his voice after several long seconds. You speak our language. How do you know who we are?" Mi Young's voice carried a hint of amusement. "Commander, we have been studying the Dominion for over 200 years. We know your language, your customs, your politics, and your technology. We know much more than you might expect." "But that's impossible," Navran blurted out. "We have never made contact with your species before. We didn't even know you existed until today." "That is correct," Mi Young agreed. "We have worked very hard to remain hidden from your people. But the time for hiding is now over. We believe it is time for humanity and the Dominion to meet properly." Veltar's mind raced with questions. How had an entire species remained hidden for so long? How did they know so much about the Dominion without making contact? And most importantly, what did they want? "We would like to invite you and 2 of your crew members to visit our world," Mi Young offered. "We have prepared a meeting place where we can talk safely. We promise you will not be harmed in any way." Veltar looked at his crew. Zixtal and Navran both looked excited and nervous. This was the discovery of a lifetime, but it was also potentially very dangerous. "We accept your invitation," Veltar said finally. "But I must warn you that the Dominion will be expecting our regular report soon. When they learn of your existence, they will send more ships." "We understand completely," Mi Young replied. "In fact, we are counting on it. There are many things the Dominion leadership needs to learn about humanity, and there are many things we need to discuss about the future of our galaxy." As Veltar prepared to make history as the first Dominion officer to meet with humanity, he wondered what changes this discovery would bring. Something told him that the galaxy would never be the same again. The hidden society of humans was about to reveal itself to the universe, and the Galactic Empire was about to learn that they were not as powerful or as knowledgeable as they believed.